Hello and welcome to Our Ventura TV. My name is MB Hanrahan and today I am having, again, lawyer Ed Elrod, and he is also a community activist and he brings that into his law practice. Ed, hello.
Thank you. Here I'm advocating again.
Welcome back, yes. So I want to talk about two subjects today, if we can. First off, so some people don't even know that we have a public law library. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, where it is, and not the history of it, but just your experience of it.
The Ventura County Law Library is currently housed at the Hall of Justice, which is where the courthouse is. It is one of the oldest institutions in the county. It was created by a political act that established a law library.
1891.
1891. It's been around.
Wow.
The law library is funded by filing fees. So when you go and file a lawsuit, a tiny portion of the money that you pay to file that fee, which is now $435, goes to support a law library. Law library exists to make available to the public books, electronic access, which is now the replacement for so many books,
Right.
to cases, statutes, newspapers, journals, treatises, secondary materials, dictionaries, et cetera, et cetera.
Trials that have happened.
Exactly, because a lot of people can't afford a lawyer.
Yeah.
They go to the law library. Everything that a lawyer can do from the comfort of his or her own office, a pro per, which is what we call a self-represented litigant, can do at the Ventura County Law Library for free. $45,000 a month paid for by the law library so that you can access Supreme Court decisions, advice, how to fill out a form, how to get the form, how to transmit documents. All that's available in the Ventura County Law Library, which is at the courthouse on 800 South Victoria Avenue here in Ventura.
Yeah, it's kind of like right next door to the courthouse, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Right? So my understanding is it's moved around a little bit, and that's where it is, and we're hoping that's going to stay there. And there's an organization that you're involved with, which is Friends of the Law Library. So what do they do, these friends?
Well, we are trying to, of course, increase hours.
Okay.
We have a couple
Which
of...
are the hours, well, right now, and now might be any time, but it's what we're considering like weekdays, normal business hour type of thing?
Correct.
Okay, great, go ahead.
We'd like to open in the evening for people who actually work during the day so that we can
Yes.
come after 5 o'clock. We don't have anything past 6 p.m. at the current time. We'd like to have Saturday hours so that people who want to come from out of town can come in on a Saturday. We have meeting rooms, conference rooms. People can come and do homework there. Like any library, it's a great place to congregate. It's a great place to meet, although we have to be very, very quiet. So we'd like to expand our hours. The expense and the cost of providing the access to these reference materials is increasing dramatically. So the ability to buy more services, to buy access to other what we call reporters, who report on the activities of courts, which are in a strange way controlling, where case law actually further interprets statutes.
By like precedent-setting cases,
Exactly.
that is the way certain
Exactly.
cases went, then that has bearing on, say, like whatever I'm looking for. Is like, what has happened in the past about this? Okay, go ahead.
If I mention the case Roe v. Wade, everybody in the world probably recognizes in some way, maybe don't know exactly what that is. Roe was Jane Roe. That's a fictitious name. We talk about Roes and Does to protect the privacy of people. And Mr. Wade was the district attorney for the county where this actually took place. That particular case describes a circumstance or a set of facts that the law doesn't touch, because no law can fit all sizes, can fit all configurations. So if we were able to make every single case in the universe available through the law library, we would have more services that we could provide to the public. Those cost money. We try to raise additional funds. Increased hours is, of course, the most important thing so that people can come after work.
Access, yeah, public access.
Access. We'd like to be able to have a portal so that people can log into the law library from home using their computer and then access our materials as if they were sitting in the law library. So we could use electronic portals so that you can work from home.
Because it's the one law library for our entire county.
That's
And it's quite big and it's quite extensive, but still, I live in Ventura, so it's close to me, and that's not the case for all county people.
That's correct. So access to materials, access to information. We have a lot of people who, even though they could afford an attorney, prefer to do their own legal work. If anyone goes to the law library anytime during the week, you tend to see the same persons there working up, researching cases. Maybe they're helping friends, maybe they're working on their own cases. If I had to hire somebody to do that kind of work and pay hourly rate at current rates, or if I had to buy a subscription to one of the legal online services to access these databases, it would be expensive. So this is a huge value that we provide to the community. We have legal clinics where 14 to 15 different attorneys show up. Tuesdays, we're on summer hiatus, but there are summer clinic during the rest of the year. You can go in and an attorney will help you with a simple issue. Again, we don't represent people. We simply direct them. Here's where you find this particular material. Here's where you find this particular document. Here's where you can locate these forms. Here's how to file this form here. And then there sometimes are, of course, referrals made for people who need more than just a little bit of advice or a little bit of assistance. So they can go out and find an attorney. And those legal clinics are held at the law library. Be great if we had evening hours. Again, a lot of people work long hours, the high cost of living in Ventura County. So increased hours would be great significance.
Do law students use the library?
They do, actually.
Because I'm assuming like a law school would have a library, or is that a big assumption?
Most law schools have libraries. USC, of course, is preeminent
But
law school.
Maybe our local institutions?
There is a small library at the Ventura College of Law, Santa Barbara College of Law, Southern California Institute of Law. They tend to focus on electronic access rather than actual books.
Got it.
What we call the reporters, which report every single case that's decided by higher court. So law libraries do have libraries. Law schools have libraries of their own. But Ventura County Law Library is incredible. It's one of the larger ones in the state of California.
Wow.
LA County Law Library is one of the largest in the entire nation. So it's kind of a treat to go down and view that law library because, again, I come from a library background. We moved to Camarillo in the 50s. My mom was a librarian in Disdar Park on Ventura Boulevard, and I hung out at the library. Many of you know I was in the book business for 25 plus years, so I come from a background of paper and boards.
Right, which is still a place for it, obviously. I went in with you, and we just walked around. I'd never been in here before, so yeah, it's a real library, folks. It's a beautiful thing. So Friends of the Library. I'm just going to transition to another subject while we have a little bit more time. But yes, look up Friends of the Library. That's how you can become a friend of the library, I'm assuming. Okay. Friends of the Law Library. Friends of the Law Library.
Ventura County Law Library.
Ventura County Law Library. All right. So one of the other community legal-ish organizations that you have a foot in is the Diversity Alliance. Do you want to give us a quick overview of that?
As an attorney, I am licensed by the state of California to practice law in the state of California. Every county has its own county bar association that assists putting clients and attorneys together, assists in ironing out the wrinkles of practicing law in Ventura County, because each county has a superior court, which is a branch of the state of California court system. They have the ability to make their own rules. So each county has a bar association. Within that bar association, which is voluntary, membership is not mandatory, there are attorneys who practice law in many different areas. Many people feel a little bit more comfortable sitting down in an office or across the table from somebody that they have a little bit more in common with. So over the years, we have developed MABA, which is their name, the Mexican American Bar Association, the Asian American attorneys, we have the black lawyers, we have the women attorneys, and now we have the new gay and lesbian attorneys. People say, well, why do we need black lawyers, Mexican lawyers, et cetera, et cetera? Again, it's an affinity type of situation where people feel more comfortable. They want to be represented by somebody who understands their own plea, their own plight, their own conflict, their own historical perspective, who might have a little bit more insight based on their own similar background. The Diversity Alliance is the umbrella that works with all of these organizations. Attorneys are required to engage in a certain amount of continuing legal education each year to make sure that we're aware of and keep abreast of changes in the law. So we do continuing legal ed 23 hours every 2 years. We put on events. We educate people and we give them credit. We explain to them what's the new situation where you can expunge a misdemeanor. There are laws that happen every year, take place and go onto the books, and people say, what do we do? We educate attorneys in Ventura County as to the impact, the scope, the details involving changes in the law. So we provide MCLE, continuing legal education,
Okay.
units.
The Diversity Alliance that you're talking about? Or
Any.
Okay.
Any of the sections can sponsor those, can do those.
Okay.
We try to bring in people who are of interest to the, obviously to the legal trade and profession, but members of the public can come as well. A lot of people are wanting to educate themselves on legal issues because, again, they may affect them personally. And again, the idea that you could call an attorney who is a woman rather than a man, that's a personal preference.
Right.
Absolutely. You get to pick the lawyer of your choice. It's a free country. It's a democracy. So we have all of these alignments.
What's the latest in the LGBTQ or LGBTQ aspect of the Diversity Alliance?
Well, mostly what has happened in recent years since the state of California legalized same-sex marriage.
Right.
And again, there have been domestic partnerships. There have been some equivalents of same-sex marriage that have existed legally over a number of years. But now that marriage is actually available, and whether or not that's a sacred union or whether that's a historical concept or just a box you checked on your income tax return, many people just believe that they should have the same access to the benefits of marriage in terms of coverage on a spouse's health care plan, the ability to leave your assets to the person of your choice. Federal law, of course, doesn't acknowledge same-sex marriage. So the law is, in the words of Peter Cooney, who teaches at the local law school, a seamless web. So things are tied together and connected.
Yes, they are.
Oftentimes people will say, what are the issues that I need to be concerned about if I decide to marry my same-sex partner? We talk about Social Security. When the law changed, there were over 1,000 aspects of the Social Security, the Code of Regulations, CRC, federal law, that were impacted by the fact that California allowed same-sex marriage. How does Social Security deal with that? We could spend hours and hours and hours just talking about the 1,001 different laws.
And family law?
Family law, same-sex marriage. I litigate, represent, advocate for people in same-sex relationships who have custody issues. We have the ability to create new families, non-traditional families, non-nuclear families. How do we decide a custody dispute where California requires that we make a decision that's in the best interest of the child? What does that mean? Historically, children went with mom, dad went to work, mom went to the suburbs, dad went to a single-room occupancy hotel in the inner city, and all of a sudden we had addiction to tranquilizers. So families have changed, the laws have changed, the way that we deal with custody and visitation has changed dramatically. That's a huge area when it comes to same-sex marriages and transgender parents, where I have a couple of clients where we have 2 moms. How do we deal with 2 moms? We have biological parents who give up the rights to children when they separate from a marriage, and the non-biological parent wants to be the custodial parent. How do we make custody orders that recognize the fact that a bond is created by love, not by law, not by marriage, and not always by anything other than a relationship that exists between a child and that particular person? And the children have a right to say after a certain age, I don't want to be with, quote, I want to be with so-and-so. We love each other. We have a relationship. We have a bond that's unique. We support each other. So the courts are challenged with the idea of making custody and visitation orders in those circumstances, which is very different from traditional divorce custody situations. So we're educating, hopefully, the judiciary, the mediators, the counselors, the therapists, in terms of what are the specific sensitivities in terms of addressing a situation. A lot of people come in and they say, my lawyer said something to me that was offensive.
It sounds like you're going to go into a story, and I am so chagrined, but we are out of time. Ed, thank you. Thanks for enlightening us on the Diversity Alliance that is in the Ventura County Bar Association, is an aspect of the Ventura County Bar Association,
Right.
and that's how people can find out more about that if they need to access these various things. And Friends of the Law Library, we've covered a lot, and thanks again.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Our Ventura TV. My name is MB Hanrahan, and stay tuned.